Some viewers may find this disturbing. Viewer discretion is advised.
Hi my loves, it's Destin Choice and you're watching Choice TV. For today's video I wanted to get on here and talk about the Zaya Wade, the It Girl era, the era of the early 2020s, and the era of a lot of difficult conversations that a lot of us had to have. Y'all remember the early 2020s? You remember that was the era where a lot of us had to deal with the pandemic express, political issues, social norms, difficult conversations, rising stars, and a lot of very awkward moments in history that a lot of us seem to, still remember to this day, that still impact us daily.
Not only is the gas high as fuck, not only is gas $4, but it's also not lasting. I'm talking about they watering the shit down. They giving us fake shit. I don't know what's going on, but the shit ain't lasting. There's no way I had a full tank when I left the gas station, and as soon as I pull out, I'm on a quarter tank or a half a tank.
Everything that we're currently going through now is a product of what we all had to deal with 5 years ago. All the decisions you made 5 years ago are literally impacting you right now as we speak. But I wanted to get on here and talk about Zaya Wade. What the fuck happened to Zaya Wade? Zaya Wade was at one point shoved down our throats and was forcing us to all have very difficult conversations. And then now Zaya Wade just disappeared. And we don't really hear about Zaya Wade as much as we once did. Zaya Wade, as we all know, is the transgender daughter of Dwayne Wade and the transgender daughter of Gabrielle Union. Zaya Wade, as we all know, was crowned Woman of the Year. And Zaya Wade became one of the most influential figures in pop culture. And it wasn't the fact that people didn't like Zaya Wade or had a problem with the Wade family. It was the fact that people had a problem with what she represented.
There are genuinely people out there who think that you're a kid, this is a phase, or you don't actually know what you're talking about. I know that I'm trans. I didn't say one day, I just want to try out being trans. No, so just suck it up. We are who we are. Being trans is one of the most important parts of me, and so to be an inspiration to everyone out there is always my hope.
So back in the early 2020s, this was the era where a lot of us were having the conversation of misgendering.
What's your name?
My name's
Alex?
Tommy.
Yeah, your name's Alex, and I'm gonna be talking to your manager. This guy called me sir. This happens every fucking day. Everywhere I go, I get called sir. I'm so fucking tired. No, stop trying to gaslight trans people and tell us that we're crazy.
It wasn't too long ago white people were saying, I don't feel comfortable sharing a bathroom with a black person. And history repeats itself.
Monday morning, close to 200 students used their right of free speech to express both their displeasure and support of Lila Perry, a transgender student who until recently has been changing for PE class in the girls' bathroom, even though she is still male physically.
These girls have a right to their own privacy. Without the privacy, they have nothing.
The issue attracted a huge turnout at last week's school board meeting.
I find it offensive because Lila has not went through any procedure to become a female. Putting on a dress and putting on a wig is not transgender to me.
I think this is pure and simple bigotry. I think they are using the claim that they are uncomfortable as an excuse to target me, a transgender woman.
She's a human and she has human rights like everyone else.
All of a sudden, people like Demi Lovato wanted to be referred to as they and them. We had a whole era where a lot of people were, fighting to be gendered properly. It was also an awkward era where we were having difficult conversations about transgenders being in women's sports and transgender women being in MMA and wrestling and all types of shit like that. It was also an awkward era where a lot of us were forced to have to reckon with the idea that a lot of cartoon characters and a lot of TV characters were becoming non-binary and LGBT+.
Well, my heart says that the way I feel most myself is to go by the name Fred. That's because I'm non-binary, and Fred is the name that fits me best. And I also use they and them, because calling me a she or a he doesn't feel right to me.
Oh, I didn't know that. No wonder you've been struggling. How could you lead the herd without being yourself? Oh, I'm sorry I used the wrong name and pronouns.
Morgan, can you switch,
Nightshade's pronouns are they, them.
He or she just doesn't fit who I am.
My apologies. Please switch their piece.
Which was really awkward for a lot of people who are parents. We all know Gabrielle Union, and a lot of us once loved and cherished her work. And we all adore, at one point, Dwayne Wade. He's a legendary basketball player and a household name. They were a little unusually open about their relationship, especially during Gabrielle Union's press run about her book back in 2017, We're Going to Need More Wine. When she was doing her press runs for her books, people were asking her about her perspective about reciprocity during sexual intimacy. And this is what she had to say.
So if she gives the guy a blowjob, he goes down on her, she eats his ass, he eats her ass, then does that mean she has to eat the man's butt?
I mean, if we're talking about, equal time here, reciprocity.
Guys really aren't, at least the ones I know, aren't really into this.
That's what they say. That's what they're saying.
So
that's not what's happening.
How old were you when you first ate a butt?
Was it with the teddy bear? The teddy bear.
It's little stuff like that that make people think to herself, why did she answer it like that? Or why is this even being a thing where she's talking about tossing this man salad? This shouldn't even be talked about or discussed. But people kind of just let it go and dust it off, but that did rub people the wrong way. And this is the beginning of the end because, of course, we all know what happened next. Gabrielle Union made it very clear that she stepped forward and she basically played the mother figure to his 2 children. And fast forward years later, she ended up posting a picture on Instagram making it very clear that she took Zion to his first Pride event. And she made it a whole family gathering thing where she forced the entire family to go to a gay Pride event. Which is awkward for them because, let's be honest for a second, those are not her children. There was hella backlash because for a lot of people, it was like, what the fuck is going on? Why is an 11-year-old coming out as gay publicly? And why is this being shared to the forefront? Zion eventually posted this video alongside his father. And he basically made it clear that he's able to live his truth and that he don't want nobody judging him and much more. And then he came out and said that he now wants to be referred to as she. This was Dwayne Wade and Gabrielle's moment where they decided to let the whole world know Zion now refers to himself as Zaya.
The boy who was born Zion now wants to be referred to as Zaya, a transgender girl.
What's the point of being on this earth if you're going to try to be someone you're not?
In a video clip shared by Union, Zaya, with Wade by her side, urges other kids who fear being chastised about their sexual identity to be brave.
I know it can get tough, definitely. But I think you push through and you be the best you.
Wade says his open support for Zaya simply falls under the umbrella of good parenting.
And this caused a ton of backlash globally because there'd be often times where Dwayne Wade was going viral for these clips, but he was also posting photos of Gabrielle Union and Zaya was wearing crop tops, long acrylic nails at 12 years old, and people felt like it was inappropriate for a child. And then it got ugly to the point where Boosie ended up going viral because he was critiquing their parenthood.
Dwayne Wade, you gone too fucking far, dog. That is a male, a 12-year-old. At 12, they don't even know what their next meal gonna be. They don't have shit figured out yet. He might meet a woman, anything at 16 and fall in love with her. But his dick be gone. How you gonna? Like, bro, you going too far, dog.
Zaya and Lil Nas X live in his head.
For free, rent free.
Like, what?
It's like, sir, something you want to just go ahead and tell us. This is a safe space. We can be your sanctuary.
Perhaps that safe space was not provided for him. And
I don't think he had a safe space.
He did not have one.
But it's crazy how, even though this was 6 years ago, the one thing that'll humble you is time. And the one thing time will always show you is that opinions always expire. They're simply just a snapshot of how people feel in the moment because the world has a funny way of humbling people. Recently, Boosie's son, Torrance, recently was arrested on illegal possession of a gun, and he also fled the scene of police, and he dealt with some serious charges. Of all people, Tokyo Tony famously also went on a rant discussing this issue with Zaya Wade, and this also went viral.
That's a crossbreed ass weird shit. And these parents let their kids get raised by Google and don't talk to them, don't tell them nothing. And they just wing it and think that's the right shit. Your fucking son or daughter is a transgender bitch. You ain't teach them nothing. You ain't do nothing. They supposed to hide that shit. Bitch, I ain't got no transgender ass. Fuck, I don't want none. Cause I ain't gonna like you. I don't like no transgender. Fuck them motherfuckers. Ugh. Get your fucking ass away from them. Don't like you. I ain't never gonna like you. No, you trying to be me, bitch. And you're a fucking nigga with a big ass dick. And need to get punched in your motherfucking face. Fucked up your ass if you go to jail somewhere, bitch.
And many people felt like they had ulterior motives because, let's be real for a second, they have a whole other child named Zaire who is trying to be drafted and is very, into the whole pro basketball era. So it's really odd that people were so interested in this child, but weren't interested in the other child.
Everyone thinks the journey to understanding trans people and the conversation happens overnight. It wasn't overnight for you,
No.
And you had to learn.
On top of that, many people started critiquing Dwayne Wade and thinking that he had his own secrets as well because he made it clear that his child helped him express himself more.
I get the chance to experience it as well. And so, I can cross my legs and feel comfortable and confident. I can paint my nails and feel comfortable and confident. You know what I mean? Because, these are people they're not putting me in a box because of they probably did have me in a box,
right?
But then I showed them that I
unbox yourself.
That I unbox myself.
Yeah. Right.
It's because of this, as kids, I used to put on heels. I used to do all those things. I try to put on whatever my sisters wear. When all my sisters did, I try to do those things. So at first I said to myself, oh no, I did that. So I ain't just doing the things that I did.
But it wasn't about Zaya. It was about a bigger conversation of it being a agenda. And people felt like it was an agenda being pushed and to normalize this kind of stuff because some people feel like transgender people are mentally ill because gender dysphoria is a real thing. And of course, when people are transitioning at an early age, let's be real, let's not forget about the YouTuber Tyler Vine. I've talked about this before, but Tyler Vine is a famous YouTuber who made videos back in the late 2010s. And he was very popular. He did the bottom surgery, which, he shaved off a big portion of the skin on his arm and he molded it to do the bottom surgery and all types of crazy stuff. And then eventually he woke up one day and basically said, I made a big mistake.
Mourning an entire life that should have been mine. That was my birthright. I don't know how this happened to me. And I'm just so angry. I'm so sad. I just don't know how this happened. Like a virus or something. It just infected me and it happened so quickly. And it was I was right there agreeing to every single thing. And I don't know how that happened. Then now I can sit here and look back and be why did I do that? It doesn't make any sense. None of it makes any sense. If I just would have waited. If I just would have waited. If I just would have waited and let myself heal. I can't have kids. I'll never lose my virginity. I feel like I'm left to just accept the scraps of the life that I could have had. I had this full life that I'm now having to mourn while also living in the present moment with the life that feels just the scraps of what could have been. I don't know how to be happy in that.
So this was also the era where a lot of people were going viral on YouTube and on TikTok for detransitioning. Zaya Wade, even at 16 years old, started taking hormone pills and estrogen pills, basically causing her to develop more breasts, more feminine features, and lowering her testosterone. So she was the symbol of, yeah, this is the perfect example of why this is wrong. And then this was the media's example of, see, this is why this is right. Because if a black family can put their career at risk and be accepting of this, then so can the rest of the world. Many people also suspected that this was a come-up moment for Gabrielle Union. Because as we all know, she was replaced off America's Got Talent and fired because she was referred to as difficult. But she also claimed that they wrongfully eliminated her because she would call them out about things such as making racially charged comments about her hair being too black and making a lot of inappropriate comments about Asian people. So people just assumed that she was just looking for another come up because, let's be real, you haven't really heard much from Gabrielle Union at all unless it has to do with controversy. Siobhan Funches, who's Zaya's mom, had a lot of negative things to say about Gabrielle Union and Dwayne Wade exploiting their child. Siobhan Funches, the first wife of Dwayne Wade, who was also the staple in the beginning of his career, where Dwayne Wade, if y'all didn't know, came from nothing, and he also came from a very toxic household as a child. Siobhan Funches, who was his girlfriend and high school sweetheart at the time, took him in right along with her mom and supported him until his NBA career. However, they claim he switched up, became all Hollywood, had a nasty spirit all of a sudden when all the money came. And then he got to a point where he didn't want to support her anymore. And apparently the relationship was very violent and abusive on both ends. Well, Siobhan Funches, as we all know, had a very ugly custody battle with Dwayne Wade as far back as the late 2010s. Let's not forget about back in like 2012, she refused to surrender the kids and give up the kids literally during a custody battle. They basically had split custody. His sister went over there to go pick up the kids, and she kidnapped the kids, locked his sister out and said, sorry, I'm not giving you my kids. You can't get the kids. And she would even have moments where she wouldn't even drop off the kids on time. She famously sat outside of a courthouse back in around 2012, ranting and yelling with a picket sign that says, my baby daddy's an NBA player, but I'm on the streets and struggling. And those little things caught a lot of media attention, which then ruined her chances of full custody and made her look a little mentally unstable.
I tell you this, Dwayne Wade could only do as much as these judges let him do. Judge Nager didn't make him pay child support. I got 3 months of child support in about a 6-year period. But he sat on $90 million. And he couldn't buy a school uniform, Your Honor? Is it too much to ask? What about the coloring pencils for the children? I had to pay for all of them. And now I sit here today with nothing left. And the judge is saying, well, if you want any money, Mr. Wade is offering it in exchange for your voice. Make sure you don't tell anybody what happened. Why is it that one person is entitled to child support while another man is let go free? You put one man in jail for being behind in child support, but you tell the rich man you're going to give him more time. Why is that? Why is it?
So she had a lot of issues because Dwayne Wade filed paperwork to have Zaya's legal documents changed from male to female. She had a lot of problem with that because in her head, she thought, who the hell does he think he is trying to update my son into being a woman? She had no fucking idea that this was even happening. She had to find out through the media. So as time went on, as she found out, she went out of her way to file paperwork. And of course, Dwayne Wade ended up winning per usual, just like how he won the custody battle, because the judge ruled in his favor because he was the one with sole custody. So as he pretty much won, Siobhan Funches pretty much dwindled out of the limelight. You didn't really hear much about her anymore. And then it got a little bit ugly because Siobhan Funches then came out with a podcast called The Needful.
And even their household, God, everyone believing, even those who have not given their life to Christ yet, God, I pray you bless them and their families, God, that they will truly know and believe, God, that only one thing is needful. The truth himself spoke those words to us and they are timeless. And I thank you, God, that as we do this one thing that's needful, that as we choose this good part that won't be taken away from us and we abide in your word.
So as of now, Siobhan Funches pretty much stays out of the limelight, but she does drop hints every now and then that she will always go out of her way to preach the word of God and that she raised a son. So she now has a whole religious platform and she's now a motivational speaker and a Christian podcaster. But in the midst of all this, the Wade family kind of strategically removed Zaya out of the limelight. It was already a lot of public heat because they were literally trying to change Zaya's ID, passport, personal documents from male to female. So that was a lot of media backlash that not only they got from a lot of people in the media, but they also got from Siobhan. This was a very ugly battle and it lasted for months. Not to mention, Zaya also was on hormone therapy and was doing interviews talking about taking hormone pills, which alters her estrogen levels and testosterone levels. So Gabrielle Union, of course, also came forth recently, and she said that her husband was diagnosed with kidney cancer, and it took a huge strain on the family.
Changing a little bit, your husband, Dwayne, was recently revealed that he'd been diagnosed with kidney cancer and had surgery at the end of 2023, and I know it was so hard for him to let you and the family, all of you, see him in that weakened state. What was it like for you to see him, and how's he doing?
I think I was in such shock when he told me the diagnosis. You hear cancer, you're paralyzed because you think of the absolute worst case scenario. I've had so many friends who are cancer survivors. I didn't go there. No. I went to the worst. He's gone. Right. And so it took all of us a while. And he didn't tell everybody. He didn't even tell our whole family. Right. He really wanted this to be very under the radar. He didn't tell anyone. Is he better now? And so yes, he's had the surgery and he's cancer-free, but it was a challenge.
So it seems as though that Zaya Wade's disappearance from the public eye seemed more strategic. It seemed like they wanted to brand her as someone that's more silent and more away from the public eye and more youth advocate. So it's very obvious that they tried to pivot away because, again, the whole Siobhan Funches situation with her not wanting her son, who is now her daughter, transitioning publicly, and her feeling like the Wade family is trying to legitimately exploit her, a lot of that stuff is very valid. But seeing Zaya Wade kind of fade into obscurity and now be a grown adult, it kind of seems like none of that stuff even matters anymore because you don't really know what Zaya Wade is up to. As of now, it appears that she's graduated from high school and she lives a pretty quiet and normal life. But I can't help but think to myself, how much did the Wade family actually profit from Zaya Wade's brand deals? You know, Gabrielle Union has been an actress in Hollywood for over 30 years. You know, you saw her in damn near everything in the 90s and early 2000s. And Zaya Wade has gotten six-figure, multi-million-dollar brand deals that Gabrielle Union will never see in her own fucking lifetime. I mean, imagine, you know, Zaya being able to work with Miu Miu, and we've never seen Gabrielle Union work with big brands like that. You know, Zaya Wade is getting brand deals with fucking high-end fucking fashion brands like Miu Miu. Meanwhile, Gabrielle Union is getting fucking brand deals with fucking Casamigos.
Hosting the perfect FIFA World Cup 26 watch party is like being a playmaking midfielder. You have to dictate the tempo and rhythm, serving quality margaritas and never missing a second of the action. Casamigos ready to enjoy margaritas are my starting 11 in a bottle.
What the fuck? Like, it's little stuff like that that makes me think that the Wade family just saw this as like a publicity standpoint, a publicity point, you know, using this child's gender identity as a come up. But as time has gone on, it's very clear that Zaya Wade was just really for the times. So seeing her create conversation around political adversities at the time, it makes sense. She just was the punching bag and everybody put there and projected their own issues onto this child. We even had awkward conversations about the whole bathroom situation, about like who was involved, about, you know, who had to use what bathroom. Like, we had to have gender neutral bathrooms. It was an era where in California, you see gender neutral bathrooms everywhere in a lot of liberal states like Washington State and California, and even in places like Portland, Oregon. This was a very awkward era for a lot of us, and that's why Zaya Wade became the forefront baby. You know, there's a lot of things that I still question about that era. Like, for one, why the fuck did Zaya Wade get Woman of the Year? I mean, first of all, if Esperanza or fucking like Julio or Jose or Bone Quisha from down the street wanted to be a fucking transgender all of a sudden, I don't think fucking Michelle Obama would have went out of her way to like fucking uplift them. Why was it that Zaya Wade, who's associated with a wealthy upper echelon family, get all this attention, get all these brand deals? Why didn't y'all give Bone Quisha, who went from being Bob to Bone Quisha, you know, an opportunity to like work with Miu Miu? Like, why don't they get to work with high-end fashion brands, you know? And now every interview she does, they're talking about her child. Every fucking thing she does, every interview she does, no matter how long and how much of a 30-year career she's built, people are still infatuated with the fact that she let her 12-year-old stepchild transition to be a woman. So this was a very awkward era for a lot of us. So yeah, this is why America looks crazy as fuck to the rest of the world, because really running a lot of these stories back and looking back at these things is kind of like, yikes, okay, this is why people think we're fucking insane in America. But anyways, if you'd like for me to talk about more pop culture moments, more pop culture figures, and people that were popping back in the late 2010s or early 2020s, please feel free to comment some suggestions down below, because I'd be happy to do some, because I know a lot of you guys want my take on people like Damo and Chrissy, a lot of other entertainers, and many people who graced our screens at some point and then randomly disappeared. But that's that for this entire breakdown, this entire video. Please be sure to like, comment, and subscribe. And yeah, that's that. Choice out this bitch. Why don't we fall in love? It's so many reasons. It's the only thing that matters to me. It's so many reasons. It takes such a load off to let you know that you're the only one I won't ever want to go. Think I never did know what to do. Although I never felt, now I feel for you. Why don't I just swallow each and every ounce of my pride? Everything you do, I want to feel again. Ain't no use for us to pretend, 'cause why do we, why can't we, why can't we, why can't we fall in love? That's all you get for free. Thanks for watching, y'all. Follow me on Instagram and join my Patreon.